Hello, this is my Unit 1 project for my composition class, and this whole project will hopefully give you an idea of what I've either learned or what it has been more solidified in my understanding of language since the class started or since I started taking it. And I took everything from the simple nouns that you learn very early on in elementary school, all the way up to language prejudice, the monitor, and things of that nature. And then I mix a little bit of a narrative literacy with it, and I was very truthful with it, so hopefully that will turn out alright. And I presented it all in a slam poetry kind of format, which I've never done one before. I've seen a couple, but I've never performed one. I've never attempted one. So if this does not sound that great, I'm sorry for your ears. I've also been felt a bit sick at the least. So it's if it sounds bad, I'm sorry.
When I was young, I lived in the hills, small town, Newton Falls, a place where nothing happened and nobody seems to know of it. It's where I grew up as a kid, where I developed my first dialect, learned my first language. I went to school in a town nearby, Clifton Fine. I just didn't get it, an outcast no matter where I went. People talked in social cues and body movements, something I pick up naturally, something known as paralinguistics. Even in the class where I thought I'd slay, ELA, I learned a noun was a person, place, or thing. I learned to use adjectives to describe them. I learned a proper noun is like McDonald's, GameStop, etc. I learned a verb is an action, and an adverb describes them. My name was a verb and an adverb. The teacher handed back my work, with words slashing it into pieces, leaving my heart broken to pieces, told I need to write what many know as standardized English, or what prescriptivists would call the only correct way to speak and write. I just wrote what came naturally, what came first to mind, what linguistics are known as the mother tongue. And every student in school is a victim of this standardized system. They just don't know. Even articulate Americans sound foolish to the British. Fast forward to 5th grade, moving to a small city, still instantly big to a country kid. My cognition kicked into overdrive, my thinking was sky high, when I realized I had a greater chance of fitting in, of being more than a kid, behind in the public's ways. Went to school, first day, with a smile on my face, unknowingly entered a battlefield where it was still an aberration, a deviation, a race war raging. Even though I started learning Spanish, I gave fear to speak it, without being attacked by the kids who grew up on it. Side A, side B. I didn't fit in either way. A school filled with language prejudice, stereotype threats, causing anxiety and fear, manic and panic, pushing my head to the edge, and microaggressions thrown around daily, because a white kid couldn't possibly know Spanish, and a kid with any tone of dark skin shouldn't speak English. It was sickening, but true. No matter what the base language was, I was always outside the brackets, as everyone spoke codified languages. I eventually learned my own kind of codes. Music summed my life up with a G no. Geek codes filled my life with color like CSS, but the basic language was my HTML. Standardized ideology riddled the classroom still. ELA was still a struggle, but it got better. Depending on the teacher, her made us conform better. The belief of any variation of each language, the standard form. Year after year I started using metacognition more and more. About why I was thinking about what I was thinking about. Trying to find meaning in life, trying to find reason for the rules laid before me. Even my words were restricted. The only way I ever have known to express myself completely, restricted by standardized rules. Made by standard basic people. After I kill the monitor, the little voice that tells us what we're worth, what our words should be, how we should speak and write, that voice that disrupts us when we're writing, to stop our flow, second guess our actions. You gotta work with situations you suck at. Learn to ignore, put on headphones or toss in earbuds, look around for inspiration, draw in and gain confidence. Although, it never really goes away. I am a descriptivist. I live in variations of languages. I'm multilingual. I can speak a little bit of Spanish. Yo amo mi familia, or I love my family, and a little bit of Japanese. Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, konbanwa, which all mean hello at different times of the day. I'd love to learn more. Always thirst for the next word in language to add to my vocabulary. Language lights my sensei. I code mesh all the time. just like that, and my family hates it because they don't always understand what I'm saying. I shift between languages when I get mad, happy, or crazily excited, or just want to fill in another word with a different language.
First off, I just wanted to say that at the end of this presentation, I got a little bit exaggerated by saying that my family hates it when I code mesh or other words, throw in a reference or like another code for some other codified language or something of that nature, and they don't get it. I think at times they may be annoyed, but I don't think they hate it. I just don't know why I put hate. I think at the time it sounded good. It sounded good, and then I realized it wasn't really 100% true. I mean, maybe it's half true depending on the person, but I just wanted to throw that out there real fast. So no, I remember my family watches this and thinks, "Yo, that's a lie, man." Like, no, no. I hope this presentation really got the message I was trying to convey. I mean, I did use a lot of the terms throughout the Unit 1 course, but like the primary message was how people should be more accepting to different variations of languages and different ways people speak. Because really there's two sides of an ongoing language war, essentially. One's prescriptivism, which is the belief of having only one language, and in that, like, have their languages, and there's only one variation for each language. So you got English, and inside English there's only standardized English, and then you got Spanish, essentially, and like that kind of thing. There's the belief of there's not more than one language inside a language. There's only one language, only one way to speak it properly and write it properly. And then there's descriptivism, which is the idea or belief of multiple languages, multiple variations. So inside English, you have codenamed English 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to an infinite amount of numbers, really, essentially, with its own different subtitle name and everything like that. And sometimes maybe only one group of people like use one language or maybe another one, or it's like that kind of thing. There's more than one language in each language, which is really true, and the more you try to deny that fact, it's just like covering your eyes and telling yourself that there's no gravity, or that you sleep because it's fun, and not because you're just too stressed out at the end of the day to figure anything else to do, or not extremely exhausted. Probably really bad examples, but like the fact is that it's prescriptivism really is kind of like this old-fashioned thought process, like their old-fashioned belief, and descriptivism shows that like, language can be more than just language. It can be art, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that either didn't grow up on English or like wherever the main language in their home is, and they either speak a different language more fluently, or they speak a broken or different variety of English or language of their home language, and like their mother tongue isn't what the standardized English is, or standardized whatever language, and they probably I felt dumb or just not up to par with everyone else, and like there'll be failures because they speak differently or not as correct. And that's really not okay, because language is an art, and in art you really can't do anything wrong, and that's the whole point. Everyone has their own style and techniques for doing what they do. Everyone has their own style of talking, of writing,